Hi, everyone. This is Nina Collins from Revel. Today, I'm interviewing Heidi Brown. Heidi is a beauty executive at this point, or a wellness and skincare executive. She's the editor in chief of Brilliance by Brown, which is a new media company that she started for skin health. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio here. Prior to founding Brilliance by Brown, Heidi was a seasoned C-suite marketing executive, strategist, and communications editor in the technology sector, specifically data storage, networking, and enterprise software solutions, all things I don't really understand, which sounds super cool. Her list of accomplishments includes the release of 3 enterprise software products for the financial services and business service sectors, and she helped successfully position a B2B media technology company for acquisition in 2017. And she started Brilliance by Brown, I believe, in 2019, so very recently. And we're going to talk really about skincare and menopause and her business and what she's doing and why. And I'm very excited to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you, Nina, for having me. It's such a pleasure, and I'm grateful to be part of the Revel community and to talk about the work that I'm doing and to learn more about the community as well.
Yeah, happy to talk about that, of course. So tell us, I mean, you had this incredible, it sounds like, business career, and why this pivot? You're a woman our age, you're in our demographic, you're in your mid 50s. We're always interested in women's reinvention stories because most of us have them.
Right.
I always find them fascinating. Like, it's not easy to suddenly, switch. So what drove you and why this area? Why skin health?
Right. So wellness has always been a part of who I am and what I do. A lot of it I learned from my parents, who were very much about how you eat and take care of yourself and the like. And the years that I spent building my career in the technology sector rather, really came to a head because I got tired of what I was doing.
Hmm.
While I realized a certain measure of success, and as a Black woman in tech, in some regard, there weren't many Black professionals in technology when I started in the late 80s, early 90s, and to see the proliferation today, I think is quite exciting. In any event, um, 2 things were happening. Both, I was tired of what I was doing, was searching for something with greater meaning. Also, both of my parents and my brother had passed away from 2011 to 2018. 2018 being my mother, who had cancer, and then it revisited and she passed away in the summer of 2018. And all of those events were incredibly life-changing for me. And I really
Made you
had to.
relook at things, kind of take a look at
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. Both my parents were both well known in their specific professions, and so I always had I always had the burden of, okay, I've got to do my best. I've got to be the best. I've got to,
That's
and
interesting. Wait, tell us, but I should say 2 things. One, to the audience, we're doing this as a webinar. If anyone has any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. You can also raise your hand if you don't mind being recorded. This is being recorded for our podcast, Raging Gracefully. So if you don't mind having your voice on audio, we'd love to hear from you, and I'll invite you into the room to ask questions. So feel free to participate in any way you'd like. Tell us about your parents. What did they do? Are you an only child?
so not an only child, as I expressed. My
Oh,
brother
your
passed
brother
away.
died. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. Yes.
yeah, it's okay. My brother passed away in 2011. I'm the oldest. We were 4.5 years apart, but my father was well known in the advertising and fashion world. He was a noted fashion photographer, illustrator, and was called upon to do works with Sports Illustrated, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar. Illustrated for the New York Times. Worked with a lot of the top ad agencies. Was a creative director. And my mother reinvented herself after my parents divorced, and she went back to school and became a psychologist, and really was part of a group of professionals way back when, who really started the notion around life coaching and enveloping mind, body, spirit, and how you apply that from a psychology standpoint. And had many clients of note, both in entertainment and business and the like. And so she was my shero, because she worked, quite frankly, Nina, up until she couldn't anymore. I mean,
Wow. That's
doctors
pretty
said,
amazing.
okay, they couldn't do anything else. She went into hospice, and yeah,
I'm
so
sorry, and I'm sorry for the loss of your brother. I'm also the oldest and have a younger brother, and that sounds super sad. So I'm really sorry that that happened.
yeah, I think it was rather hard hitting because he, I spoke with him 3 days before he passed away. He just turned 45.
Oh my God, so
Uh,
young.
yeah, and his heart,
Wow.
um, and
Well, so
so
it sounds like a lot of things, you went through a lot of things that made you kind of think about, well, the things we all think about, like life is short and what am I really doing and what matters to me. And I guess you'd had a lot of success. So you were able to say, like, I can step back and start and reinvent myself. I mean, obviously being able to reinvent, we all have to do it sometimes out of necessity. And then if we're lucky, if we're privileged enough to be able to do it, if we have the means to do it, everyone's situation is different. There are a lot of different ways to do it, but good for you. So had you always had an interest? It sounds like your mother worked in kind of wellness and coaching. What
Mhm.
particularly drew you to skincare, and why is it called Brilliance by Brown?
Yeah, so Brilliance by Brown, being a former chief marketing officer, I always think about messaging and words and playing on words, and obviously my last name being Brown, and then thinking about what I've learned over these many years, and how we should always show up in a place of excellence. And so Brilliance made sense
Mhm.
just in terms of how you show up, and how to up how you are brilliant in your life. Um, and what was the second question, Nina?
Why skincare? Like, why
Right,
specifically as
right.
opposed
So
to,
that was purely selfish, actually.
okay.
As I was entering my 50s, I wanted to understand why my skin was breaking out. I've
Mhm.
always had a dermatologist, and I think everybody should have a derm in their life, because your skin health is as important as everything else in your body. So annual skin checkups are something that I definitely advocate about. But in any event,
You don't go to Rose Ingleton, do you? In New
no,
York?
actually I go to Dr. Michelle Henry.
Ah, okay. Oh, I've heard good things about her. Okay.
Yeah,
Rose
yeah.
is Jamaican in downtown and I love her. And so I thought you might.
Yes. Dr. Henry is quite awesome. And in the work that I'm doing, I've been able to really create wonderful relationships with incredible dermatologists throughout the United States. And I really focus on Black dermatologists, because there's only 3% of the dermatology field are Black dermatologists. I think there's only one Black dermatologist in San Francisco.
Wow.
Um,
That
and
that actually ties into one of my questions, like with the name Brilliance by Brown and the fact that you're focusing on Black dermatology, and obviously you're a Black woman. Do you feel like, is the business geared for all women? Is it geared for women of color? What
yeah,
is your kind of position on that?
right. So I grew up in a multicultural world. I'm a New Yorker. I'm from a world-class city. I've lived in other countries. My family is like the United Nations. So that's the lens that I look through. And as I was thinking about a platform or a company that speaks to everyone, it was important that I feature and highlight those segments, those areas, those on the margin, who are not being recognized.
Mhm.
And so while I just shared with you wanting to spotlight and feature Black dermatologists, it's also dermatologists who are cross-culturally competent and conscious,
Mhm.
and understand how to take care of all skin types.
Right.
Skin is skin, right? However, one's ethnic background does play into how you care for the skin. Um,
Absolutely. I mean, like, I think Black people, I'm Black also, and I think Black people, keloid, they scar differently sometimes. They're just different issues, pigmentation issues. There are all sorts of different things that come up.
right.
So, and you call yourself, you're a media company, right? So,
Yeah.
I want for our audience, people to understand, like, what is your product? What are you
Sure.
trying to, what are you trying to sell? Because it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is also about education and awareness, which is super
It's,
important.
that's absolutely right, Nina. It is education, it's awareness, it's being a corridor, if you will, to disseminate information about how to care for your skin over 40,
Mhm.
regardless of skin type, skin tone, ethnicity. And also speaking to women who are dealing with menopausal skin, whether that's perimenopause or menopause, which we all know is one day, or postmenopause. Um,
I am.
right?
I'm
Yeah,
postmenopause.
the
Yeah,
fact that,
we have to think about dry skin. I mean, so I'm curious, like, what are your, I feel like my skin has gotten pretty good. I feel like the worst part of menopause was perimenopause. And now that
yes,
I'm
I
postmenopause,
agree.
I'm
Yeah,
feeling much
I agree.
better.
Yeah. So there's things, it's interesting because what you were dealing with when you were going through your preteen, teenage years,
Yep.
it's like it's cycled back, but it shows up in a much greater way.
Yep.
So for me, it was acne, right?
Yep. Me too.
And so it's come back. And so how do I deal with that? As we cycle out what it is that we were producing in very large amounts. So for example, collagen and the like, how do we replenish that through our gut health, through what we apply to our skin, to help us maintain what it is that we're dealing with as we age.
What's the relationship between gut health and skin health? And how do we maximize
Well,
this?
I think sometimes when we think about our skin and we think about dermatologists, we think about skin wellness, we think about beauty, and without understanding that our skin is our largest organ.
Mhm.
And without healthy skin, it does impact your other organs, and vice versa. So, you hear people saying, oh, yeah, you need to drink a lot of water. Well, the fact is, water is good to drink, but it first hits your internal organs before it shows up on your skin.
Mhm.
Um, so that's why mushrooms, as an example, are very good because they hold a lot of water. They're also good for other parts of your body. And with that, your skin is part of your body. So it's not an either or, it's part of your entire system. There's an
Mhm.
ecosystem that's going on.
Right.
And so as you think about what you're eating, and again, as you age, it's important to be more mindful about the nutrients that you're ingesting, because they are equally as important as what you apply. So if you think about some skin ingredients out there that are green tea based, for example, or mushrooms or the like, it's just taking those same things and formulating them in a way so that it penetrates your skin to
Mhm.
then reinforce what it is that you're ingesting.
That you're ingesting. So I take it from what you're saying that you're a big believer in organic products and no
Absolutely.
chemicals.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I've been a vegetarian vegan for a while. I will tell you though, as I've aged and just in terms of balancing my body, those 50 million things that we deal with in perimenopause and menopause and the like, are real. And protein, I've had to up my protein intake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've introduced more fish
Mhm.
in what I eat. With the pandemic, I have been eating, chicken here and there, farm raised, just to make sure that my immune system is as strong as possible. But for the most part, I've been organic for a very long time. In fact, growing up in Westchester, my parents belonged to a food co-op even before Whole Foods.
Mm.
So, fresh fruits and vegetables are not nascent to what I consume. But you do see the benefits of it. I mean, I have to say that genes are good. As being a woman of color, it is a benefit, because we are both women in our 50s.
This is the
Um,
black don't crack is the yeah that
Black does crack. That's why we do need to wear sunscreen. However, it shows up in a different way. So, and so what may happen is you may become more dry, or elasticity may become an issue. Um,
yeah we all become more dry.
exactly.
I do think
Hyperpigmentation,
right. That's actually something that I had during perimenopause. I developed this really weird hyperpigmentation. I still have a little bit of it under my breasts, but I had it under my arms and between my legs where my
Mhm,
skin got much darker. And
mhm.
no one could really solve it. And it definitely freaked me out. Like they tested me for autoimmune diseases and all sorts of things. And then, funnily enough, my my dermatologist, Rose Ingleton, I went to see her about it. She didn't know. And then she developed it. And then I felt better because she had it too. And she didn't know what it was either. But anyway,
Right.
it went away. I think it was weirdly hormonal. But I do find now, because I was never a vegetarian and now I'm mostly only eating fish, some chicken, but lots and lots of fruits and vegetables. And I feel like it's really making a difference. My skin feels good. My body feels better. I mean, it seems so obvious, right? Eat well,
Right.
sleep well, drink a lot of water.
Right.
But I don't think we can say it enough. It's just true.
And you have to be more intentional about that, right? And it doesn't mean that you can't, have what you've consumed before, but you have to be more mindful of what you're doing. And what I mean by that is, yes, reach for that piece of chocolate, but you can't have that piece of chocolate like every night. Perhaps substitute it with a dried fruit as an example, or an apple.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
it requires a little bit more thoughtfulness about how we do our life after 40,
Yeah.
how we think about ourselves, how we show up.
Do you drink alcohol?
So I'll tell you, with menopause, I can't that much anymore because it makes me a little woozy in a way that I'm not comfortable in my body.
Mm.
I can do vodka.
Well, there you go. Vodka's alcohol. Vodka counts.
Right, Tito's vodka, but it's not. I mean, I used to be I went through this phase, Nina, of I loved white wines, specifically from France. For a while I was doing the Napa Sonoma Valley, and then I switched, and then that became an issue, and then I went to the red wines, loved wonderful Barolos, and that became too heavy. And now, glass of Prosecco, half a glass, I'm good. Or like I said, a nice
Vodka
red
or
wine.
tequila. I mean, these things are so, I mean, it makes sense. This is our experience. It's very, very universal. I think we all experience this. Wine now makes us interrupts our sleep. The sugar isn't good for us. Drinking alcohol is definitely my vice. I feel like my diet's gotten much better. My exercise routine is fairly in order,
Yeah.
but I do still drink regularly. But I think I feel better drinking something like vodka or tequila that doesn't have sugar in it. So those
Right.
things are all better. And I
Right.
feel like my skin is
Exactly. And so, with the company Brilliance by Brown, it is about educating, like I said before, disseminating information in a multitude of ways. So whether that's, the subscriber event series, in fact, we're having one this evening that focuses on skin and menopause, or it is articles that we write about with respect to what's happening with hyperpigmentation as you age, and some routines and methods that may support you, or featuring leading doctors and thought leaders in our master class series, or highlighting podcasts that you can listen to for wellness, like calm.com, or David G, or Deepak Chopra happens to be someone that I enjoy listening to.
Yeah,
Right.
so
but
is it a community? Do people belong, or is it really a website that people can go on and read and then attend your events?
it's the latter, Nina. It's really a media site. I mean, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I am also not an expert in any regard as it relates to disseminating medical information. That's why I comprised an advisory board that
Yeah, it's like me in menopause. Like, I'm not a doctor. I just know a lot about it now.
Right. And so I rely upon them to give me the science behind the skincare, right? That I'm applying, or the information that may be beneficial to the audience. Because I figure, if I have these questions, I know that many others have these same questions, but there are not enough, I don't think, places to go to that kind of capture it all in one setting.
And through a multicultural lens. Sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. I mean, while we start with skin health, it is talking about wellness in totality. And Yes, through a multicultural lens. I mean, even the advisory council is multicultural. The panel sessions that we put together are
Or
multicultural in terms of
multicultural.
who those entities are.
Are
Um,
you hoping to have like any kind of advocacy effect on the consumer brand business? Like, in terms of the medical profession and the beauty profession, the sector, all these brands that target women over 40. And, are you taking a stand on how women of all colors are represented? I mean, do you feel like you're hoping to have an influence in that area? I mean, it sounds like that's kind of the direction you're going in.
I am. I will tell you, coming out of tech, which is predominantly white male still, even though they say it's meritocracy, I was disappointed to understand, and as I continue to learn, the whole, beauty wellness sector,
Mhm.
that it doesn't always speak to people of color.
No, not at all.
And that's even in terms of leadership. That's even in terms of the cosmetic chemists. That's even in terms of the focus groups
Mhm.
that are created. Recently,
That issue really needs attention, and we need
it
people.
does. Well, I'll tell you, I recently sent out an email communication because we launched a section on the media site titled the M Spot. And it's everything about menopause, resources and products and the like. And specifically reached out to leadership teams from those skincare lines that say that they speak to women over 40 or those who are dealing with menopause. Um, if you go to our media site, you will see the companies that are listed. I received no feedback from anyone who could tell me whether or not their leadership team had a person of color
Oh, wow.
on their board, or when they are looking to launch a new product, who's included in their focus group.
Mhm.
What is the percentage of Black and brown women that purchase their product?
Mhm.
Um, as a former CMO, I'm very, very data driven, and data and information I think is very important to really calculate and understand who it is that you're messaging to.
Yeah.
And so it's disappointing to know that while there's this whole new category and talk about menopause and products that are targeting us, they are truly not inclusive or diverse.
Interesting. Right. And kind of since like in the last year or two, right, if you open the pages of a fashion magazine, Vogue or Elle or whatever, it's full of Black models. But if the beauty companies aren't actually testing on women of color and using them in focus groups, as you say, in particular, it's an interesting, we're not quite there
No, I
yet.
mean it's very it's like enough. It's like I'm tired. I think we're all tired of it. It's I'm not going to take advice from someone who's necessarily a media personality or a celebrity to inform me about what's good for my skin or my body. I
Mhm.
want to know that it's science backed. I
Mhm.
want to know that there's someone who has the right information to give to me. And it's not to say that every product is for a particular person. It's very subjective.
Yep.
But I do want to know that that those companies, independent, as well as those established organizations, are really being mindful about what they say with regard to diversity and inclusion. And to your point, don't show me an ad or you had a talk with someone
Right. Show me
well
what's real.
established who's a person of color, and therefore you're speaking to all people.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I, that
And
that
you're
doesn't work for me.
and you're not providing products. You're not developing products. You're really acting as a not a watchdog. That sounds a little strong, but
No, what we're doing is we have a listing on the site called skincare, and it's tranched in different areas. So, vitamin C and products, from head to toe, right?
Mhm.
And it's about products that work. It's products that I use. It's products that are recommended by doctors. It changes based upon feedback that I receive, as well as me understanding what's beneficial. As an example, we just did an article about lip care. You know
Mhm.
why, Nina? Because I woke up 2 weeks ago and my lips were like swollen and they were not moist or dry. It's because
Weird.
I wasn't getting enough
Enough
um,
water.
I wasn't getting enough water, or I needed to balance the estrogen in my body. And once I did that, I then identified those products that help contain moisture. That's the thing as we age. What products help us maintain as much moisture as possible, right? And so taking that and then giving it to the audience, so that we do all of the research, if you will, and then are able to provide it. You know, I was recently elected to the board of the National Menopause Foundation.
Oh, how great. Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah. And I mention that because while there is the North American Menopause Society, that's really peer-to-peer as it relates to medical doctors within that sphere. But NMF is really about giving information to consumers, creating a community, speaking to you know, women who are part of the Revel community or the Wolfer or other communities, and providing them with resources. So again, within our media site, the MSpot, they're listed. There are other organizations and resources that are listed that provide easy access if you have a question, if you need information, if you're dealing with a particular issue. It's also important to know that you're not alone.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what communities like ours do. I think that's, you know, and Laura, I mean, it sounds like you started this in some ways to serve your own need in the same way that I started the Wolfer, because I couldn't sleep and I wanted to understand more about perimenopause and what other women were going through. And that ended up leading me to this larger endeavor, because I found that women really need and want to talk about this stuff, and we want answers, and we're not really getting them. And so it sounds like we're motivated by similar things, which is
absolutely. And at this point in my life, I'm like, you know, I'm you know, I don't have a lot of patience. I want to evolve. I want to continue to evolve. I want to continue to flourish. But I also want to know what's going to work for me right now. Let's have real discussions. Let's have real communication. You know, that's why in sending out this email from a leader to other leaders to ask them, how are you serving all of us, to not hear anything back, I think was very disappointing. Now, you know, granted, there are 10 companies that are listed there. Some of them are independent, some of them are not. And it's great to see what they're doing. In terms of really speaking to all of us and giving products that serve us. But
well, here at Revel, and I think Revel is included on your MSpot list. We do have
it absolutely is. It is.
But I hear you, and we're always struggling, honestly, in our community to make sure it's more diverse. Like, we feel like we do a pretty good job with. We have a good number of Black women. We don't have enough Latino women. We don't have enough Asian women. Joyce in the audience asks if there's an organization of Black dermatologists. It's a good question.
Yeah, there is. Yep, there is. Actually, it was started in Chicago. It's called the Society of Color. I may get that misnomer incorrectly stated, but in any event, there is. Also, here in New York, Dr. Fran Cook-Bolden, who's part of my medical professional network, she is one of the founding members of the Skin of Color Center at Mount Sinai Hospital.
What's her name again? I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, her name is Dr. Fran Cook-Bolden.
Okay.
Bolden. She's also authored a number of books. Bolden, B as in boy, Olden.
Bolden.
Yeah, Fran Cook-Bolden. No E of Cook. But there are also, we have put together a guide that we're currently updating that lists dermatologists who are cross-culturally competent and aware across the United States. You know, the issue, I think, is for women who live, you know, in Iowa, for example, who may be women of color. Is there a dermatologist who can be there to serve them? You know, the one thing about dermatologists that I learned, Nina, that was very fascinating is that dermatologists, in terms of their training, are comparable to internists and their training. That's how intensive that medical program is.
Although it's interesting because I feel like I've learned in the last few years, there are a lot of skin disorders that they really just don't know how to treat.
Mhm.
I was surprised when I had this discoloration thing. I went and saw 5 or 6 really good dermatologists, and people were like, like it. Skin disorders are mysterious to some extent. I mean, there are lots obviously that they can treat, but the way eczema or psoriasis
Right,
is
right.
really kind of a very hard, and it is related to the inside of your body. Like a friend was telling me the other day that when she drinks milk, she gets psoriasis. Like what goes
Right.
into her body affects the outside of her skin. Um,
No, it's true. It's very true.
yeah,
So, one has to be again mindful, I think, about what you apply and also messaging from the brands. So for example, the whole notion around anti-aging, I think is very offensive, quite
yeah,
frankly. I
yeah.
understand the intention, right, to help preserve and maintain and be youthful and that glow and all of that. But I'm grateful to be the age I
Right.
am right now.
Of course, we should be able to celebrate our aging. Totally.
Exactly.
And all the message we're
Exactly.
sent is that we can. So tell me, I don't know, 3 of your favorite products.
So my favorite ingredient is glycerin. I wish
Ah,
they would bottle it and package it. The Ordinary or Deciem, that skincare line, they have those little vials of different ingredients, serums and
yeah,
all.
the Ordinary is a good, it's really inexpensive and it looks
Yeah,
like
yeah. Well, the
water.
glycerin, I go by ingredients
Yeah,
as opposed to specific products.
okay.
So glycerin, I think is wonderful. It's very hydrating. I look for products that are very hydrating. I will say a couple of brands. So Vanny Cream is something that dermatologists recommend. They have a whole line of products from lips to your face to your feet.
How do you spell
Um,
it?
yeah,
Vanny?
V is in Victor,
Mhm.
A, N is in Nancy, Cream, Vanny Cream.
Vanny cream. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, so it is
Okay.
quite inexpensive. You can get it at CVS, Walgreens,
Huh.
Rite Aid, Amazon. It has the right kind of nutrients for our skin. It supports with dryness and any other issues that you may have. It's also important, especially dealing with hyperpigmentation, because like you, Nina, I started to have, dark spots on my forehead. I'm like, what is going on?
Yep.
Sunscreen, we have to wear sunscreen every day, especially mineral sunscreen. Mineral
Yep.
sunscreen really uh, deflects the light.
Hmm.
Um, and peptides. Peptides are very beneficial. They're these small amino acids, these little packets, these little protein packets, if you will, that help promote collagen production.
So that's
Because
interesting. You're saying 4 things. Well, particularly the products, glycerin and peptides is really interesting because I would have expected you to say hyaluronic acid, right, which I always hear about, and retin A, which I always say, which of course is not natural, but people say retin A is the best thing for wrinkles. So this is interesting to get new tips, and I agree with you. When I think of glycerin, I think of like really kind of creamy emollient, and
right,
that is the kind of face, like the product I use that I really love right now, the line I use is Eminence. Do you know Eminence? They're
I do
all organic.
feminine. Yeah.
I really love them. And there's a face cream that I've been using right now that feels almost like a solid.
Okay.
Almost a little greasy.
Yeah.
It smells like roses. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run look when we get off this call to see if it has glycerin in it because it
Right.
feels like it probably does. But I
Right.
don't. It's a good point that you're making about looking at the ingredients because I don't do that. I tend to buy things. I try and stick to natural things. I try and I don't know. I'm a little what's the word when you're not particularly loyal to any brand? I'm a little all over the place. And
You're
of course,
agnostic. Yeah.
I'm
You know,
agnostic.
Yeah, I'm very agnostic as well. Again, if you go to our company website under skincare, it lists different products based upon the area of the skin.
Mhm.
And I tend to, again, look for, products that work for me. I'm not so hyped up on messaging. In fact, if you use too much hyaluronic acid, it dries you out, quite frankly,
That's interesting.
because brands want you to buy their stuff.
Right,
So now
right.
you find hyaluronic acid in everything. And if you're using it for your face wash, for your moisturizer and other things, eventually you're going to get that buildup and you're going to say to yourself, why is my skin so dry?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
I do believe in Retin-A. I do use Retin-A because it's very beneficial in terms of skin turnover, and it definitely supports um, acne breakouts.
Hmm.
What's also very beneficial is azelaic acid. I get it in prescription strength.
How do you
Uh,
spell it?
Sure. A is an apple, Z is in zebra. Azelaic. I'm spelling it out right now. I
All
think
right.
it's A-L,
Azelaic.
Acleiac, I believe.
Okay. I've never even heard of azelaic acid, so I will look into it.
Yeah, so azelaic acid is another wonderful ingredient that supports hyperpigmentation. It also
Mm.
helps with acne. You can use it on top of a moisturizer. That's also very beneficial. Another tip, just in terms of keeping your body moisturized, is when you get out of the shower, you should only shower for 10 minutes, not more. It should be not hot water, but warm. And just pat yourself dry. Don't completely dry your skin. And then you apply your moisturizer of preference.
Choice. I usually in the
Again,
winter,
it's about locking in that moisture.
right. I usually apply oil in the shower, particularly in
Okay.
winter, because I just
Okay.
it keeps me. And I'm
Right.
always using like salt scrubs on my elbows and things like that. I love that.
Okay. Okay. You shouldn't wash your face in the shower
Why not?
because the water temperature in the shower is too hot for your face.
Ah,
You should
interesting.
always wash your face in the sink, and it should be lukewarm.
Cooler water.
Mhm.
All right. I'll
It
add
will
that.
also, and also if the hotter the water, the more it'll exacerbate whatever skin issue that you're having.
Right. And dryness. Right.
And
Because
dryness,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, and Heidi, what is your hope for this company? Where do you see it going?
Yeah. So the intention is to be the New York Times of skin health and wellness. Why not?
Okay. Be
I've
the
always I've always gone big, Nina.
always
So
so big. So be the kind of reporting the source for skin health and wellness for all women, but particularly women over 40.
exactly.
Okay. All
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Good. Well, I'm very excited. It's nice to talk to you. I'm excited to watch you grow. We'll be paying attention to your site. So, are you on Instagram? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram at Brilliance by Brown. Our company website is www.brilliancebybrown.com. Also LinkedIn, we have a company page, Twitter. We engage to a certain degree, and of course, Facebook, brilliancebybrown.com.